and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Real Hawk Talk. I am Brian Nemhauser, and we are here tonight to preview the Seahawks matchup against the Arizona Cardinals in Seattle. At what time, we are not yet sure because we are waiting on the events of a baseball game, which we'll touch on a little bit. And we have some awesome opportunity to not just talk to our normal amazing crew, but actually talk to someone who was at the game this weekend and hear a little bit about what the surrounding atmosphere was like. There's also some Seahawks news, as there often is, to go through. And we're going to start by bringing in a man who's been a little bit under the weather and been sporadically available to us. So we're happy to have him back on. At least I am. His name's Evan Hill, at Evan Hill HB on Twitter. Evan, good to see you, dude.
Good to see you, brother. Excited to be back. Finally healthy again. Excited to torment everybody here that's listening. I'm just grateful to be back.
Sweet. Cool. And also we have Dayna O'Gorman, at Dayna OG on Twitter. Dayna, you were actually in New Orleans this weekend, correct?
I was. It is such a good time. I know there's a lot of people who are afraid to go to away games, but if you can go to a game in New Orleans, even if it is not a Seahawks game, it is so worth it. That is the most fun fan base out there. They are such a blast. They do not care who you cheer for, as long as you have a cocktail in your hand and you dance when the songs come on. Like, they don't care. It's so much fun. I have never had a unkind word said to me at one of those games. People are just happy you're in their city. And New Orleans, the city itself, is amazing. So it's such a great trip. I encourage everyone to do it. And the game, I don't know how it looked on TV, but in person, it was a blast. It was so back and forth and such a good time. We had so much fun.
So I do have one question for you guys as an outsider to New Orleans. Does it smell like everybody says it does?
Bourbon Street smells.
Okay, so is it just
the
like
rest of the city?
Okay, so it's just like a particular block or two that is like, I don't know.
Bourbon Street's about 10 blocks long.
Oh, it's that long?
Yeah,
holy crap.
It's a long street, but no, it gets a little smelly.
Depends a little bit on when and what time of year and a bunch of other factors. I mean, when I was there last time, or the only time, was over Halloween. Mm-hmm. And so, sure, like when the streets are full and things go crazy, then yes, there's like city odor, I would call it. But I do not walk away from New Orleans like remembering a smell. That was not my memory of New Orleans. Was amazing food, amazing people, amazing music, amazing artwork. Like, there's really some awesome artwork, super walkable. Part of the reason it was awful with a flood was it's so flat, but like, it's super walkable. There's actually an amazing, I think it's a World War II museum, that's like really, really cool, where you pick up the name of a soldier, a real person, and you follow that person through their whole World War II experience from start to end. And I don't know, I think it's like, and then open container. I mean, you're able to just walk around and pregame you pregame wherever you want, and then you're walking to the stadium and there's bars on the street and you get another drink on the way there. And I loved it. Yeah.
It's definitely the history. I'm a big history nerd too, and the history of the city is just so amazing. And it's really the people, though. They are so fantastic. I just encourage everyone, just go. And when you go past Bourbon Street, go out into the city. It is amazing.
Yeah. Someone in chat is already asking what's my favorite amazing New Orleans music. I couldn't tell you. And there's a street that's not Bourbon Street that's actually, for my money, the better street. I can't remember what it's called. Canal Street, I think. And it's lined with, jazz clubs and like other kinds of music. And there was like a processional that night that was just a bunch of like jazz band stuff through the streets. Like, it's just fun. Like, it's fun. Right. Yeah. So
the Seahawkers there put on, it's called a second line parade. And that's where you get the band in the front, the people with the parasols, and you walk through the streets. And so there was a good 75 to 100 Seahawks fans that just did this processional dance, like whole thing through all of the French Quarter. And people were clapping and cheering and telling us good luck. It was just, it's a blast. You guys just need to go.
100%. While we were, Dayna and I were just gushing over how fun New Orleans is, we were joined by our fourth member of the crew tonight, Nathan Ernst at Nathan E11. Glad you could make it, man. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. The show can start now. So, Dayna, restart your story. Tell it all over again, please. I missed it.
You actually would be shocked to know what Dayna did in New Orleans. The rest of us know, but you don't.
Oh my God! I turned red in the face on the pod. Just
redder than that time that Dayna had a really bad sunburn, or
fair. It's fair. It's fair.
All right. Well, let's talk a little Seahawks football. I think we should start by looking back a little bit at this past game, and since we haven't had this crew together, we can also just kind of catch up on where the team is and how people are feeling about things. But Dayna, since you were at this game and you were talking about how fun it was, like what was your takeaway watching that game? What stood out to you? And what was like the conversation of people that were in the crowd, both Saints and Seahawks fans?
The conversation was Geno Smith. I mean, that everyone just kept talking about Geno and how well he was playing and what they were doing and how impressed the Seahawks fans and the Saints fans with the rookie lineman. I mean, I had a whole conversation with this gentleman. He was a Saints fan. It was all about Charles Cross, and like he was just obsessed with him. And he just loved everything about him. And Saints fans are very knowledgeable fans, but they love the whole league. And so it was just really fun. But I will tell you, it was the back and forth, and the 1 second they're so excited and they're doing their little dances that they all do in the stadium. And then the next minute DK would get a touchdown. They'd be like, oh, and but they were laughing the whole time. I need to rewatch it on TV, because in the stadium, you could just feel the momentum shifts every 5 or so minutes back and forth. And it was an enjoyable game to watch. There wasn't a lot of downtime in this game. But really I think I expected, and I think I said this last week, I expected Seattle to go in there and do well. I thought it'd be a higher scoring game than you guys did. I remember that. But I think to the extent that the scoring went on, I think everyone was excited, including Saints fans. I don't think they thought they were going to get that out of their offense either. So it was great.
Yeah, I was trying to remember that when they last played in New Orleans, and I thought 2014, but it was actually 2015.
I remember that game.
I
remember Jermaine Kearse was targeted.
That's when Earl Thomas hugged the ref. Or the official.
I remember being very angry that Russell didn't target Jimmy Graham in the end zone in some final play or something like that. It's trauma.
It was a good memory, dude. There was 4th and 2 at the New Orleans 10-yard line.
Oh, I remember bitching about that one for a while.
And he threw it to Jermaine Kearse. Yeah. That was the game that Earl Thomas got a fumble and got a flag for hugging the ref.
Yep. It was hilarious. I was at that game. It was so much fun.
You were at that one too?
Yeah, because it was the 30th of October, so we stayed through Halloween.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was great.
Amazing.
Yeah. In some ways, the games were similar. They were like back and forth and like some really boneheaded things and like weird stuff. Evan, it's been so long. I'm really curious, like, where is your head at on what's going on with this team?
Yeah, it's just so funny because I was looking back at our prediction show. I actually went back and watched it just 5 weeks in through the season, and it's just, this team is so different than what we, I think, expected. Obviously there was a Geno crowd that believed he was better than average, but I don't remember a single person telling me that Geno Smith was going to be like a top 3 quarterback in the NFL through 5 weeks.
Nobody.
So this is pretty crazy. I really don't know how to feel right now. This defense is extremely irritating, but then you have a high-powered offense and Tyler Lockett playing so well, DK Metcalf playing so well, the rookie tackles playing so well. You've got Will Dissly playing really well. It's just I feel confused because it's like everything I've been kind of talking about in our conversations is building for the future, laying the foundation down for eventually contending. And then it's like this team they're playing like they're in a win now sort of mode. And I guess the whole element of Geno and that wild card around the quarterback position confuses me in terms of what they need to do in the future, because it's like, do we end up having a conversation at the end of the year where it's like, are we paying Geno Smith $25 million a year? Are we tagging him?
Oh, buddy, we're already having that conversation.
We're going to talk about that.
I
haven't heard your perspectives on it. We need to talk about it.
I just can't believe we're even going to have to entertain that conversation. It's a good problem to have. But it's just very weird. I'm confused.
I don't know why people keep saying it's weird. I mean, it's just another year where Pete Carroll is wasting a Super Bowl caliber offense. So this should be part and parcel for any Seahawk fan.
Nathan, your take around trading Geno, or even just throwing it out there as an option on Twitter, cracked me up.
I have to take this on a quick tangent. It annoys me quite a bit, Evan, that, like you said, you looked at the prediction stuff, and I just pulled up the spreadsheet. I think you were looking at it because you knew that you were going to be right about Rashad Penny's rushing yards now that he's hurt. Like, he's got like 350 yards or something. You guessed 400 because you thought he was going to be injured.
I did.
You are a bastard. You are like a hexer.
I am not celebrating Rashad Penny's injury, but I will say this. Around the unfortunate context of this opportunity, I really, really hope Kenneth Walker takes advantage of this. Genuinely. Like, I know I didn't like the pick, whatever, but let's not wait. If we're going to select a running back high, let's pray to God that he doesn't take till year 4 to develop and show signs of life.
Well, let's hope you're right on both predictions, because Kenneth Walker, you predicted 1,200 yards rushing. So
what's he at right now?
To giddy up if he's going to get that this year. But
what's he at? Probably like 150 right now?
No,
yeah,
like
140.
Oh,
146. Really? Yeah.
Oh, well, he had 70 yards on one run last week, so that'll do it.
So he's got about 1,000 to go. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this offense is so high powered. It's like not crazy.
Yes.
It's a legitimately good running offense, and that is not setting the low bar that most people set for a running offense. It is better than most teams' passing offense so far this year.
That's crazy.
Impressive.
Yeah, I tweeted out something. I know that yards per rush is like not a favored stat at this point anymore, but like I've talked so much about Geno, we haven't. I think most fans have not talked about the running game. The Seahawks are number 1 in the NFL in yards per rush. The Seahawks are number 1 in the NFL in 30-yard runs. They're number 1 in the NFL in 30-yard plus plays overall.
Yeah,
like, and it's. The thing with the Geno thing that I think just keeps evolving is it started as he's a game manager. He's a stopgap. He's gonna get us through this year to a young player, and like no chance. Like that was at best, right? Drew Lock, like we were talking about that plenty, right? Then it was okay. Well, he had a great half, but then he got figured out in the second half. Maybe he's just like he flashed. He got us that one win. That was great. 0 points against San Francisco. Like, oh, he's a dink and dunk guy. That was the story. And then against Atlanta, he started throwing like intermediate and deeper passes and was putting up. And then I was like, well, but he can't finish because against Atlanta, he didn't finish, and he hadn't finished yet. And then against Detroit, he scored touchdowns over and over and over again in the fourth quarter. Evan, I'm not going to say that he finished over and over again. I know that's what you wanted me to say, but I'm not going to say it. And then it was like, okay, well, like, he's throwing all these explosive passes. He didn't actually have a high completion rate against New Orleans. It was a reasonable one, wasn't super high, but he still was able to be productive because he had so many huge plays. I mean, he had like 6 plays over 30 yards in that game for the Seahawks. The most in the entire NFL for the full season is 12. The Seahawks got half that amount in one game. So like, I think the thing that's left in my head for Geno to tick off, there's 2 things. One is, sustain, like he's got to do it over time. And maybe it's 3 things. 2, it's that he's got to actually beat a really good quarterback, like outduel a really good quarterback in the moment. And 3, it's that he's got to do it against a great defense. I think the New Orleans defense was a top 10 defense, so I don't think it's a bad one. But I think those are the 3 things that, like, if he does all those things, then, like, what's left?
Did we not already check off the outduel a really good quarterback one? Week 1? Huh?
Did he, though?
No, Russ is trash now. It's sad.
Well, I'm not even joking about the Russ part. I think Geno absolutely outdueled him in the first half. Russ had a better game overall than Geno in that one, I would say. Would you?
Week 1?
Didn't get the dub.
No, I don't think it was that much. I think it was closer than you, probably.
It was close.
Yeah.
I just look at 0 points in the second half. It's hard for me to say he outdueled him. But yes. In any event, like, Nathan, season ends tomorrow. Let's say that this is the level of play that Geno sustained. He's checked those boxes, essentially. Let's say the Seahawks win 7 or 8 games. All right, something like that. What do you want them to do next year? Like, what would make you upset if they didn't do next year?
So you're saying he maintains this level of play and they win 7 or 8 games?
Yes.
If he ends the season as a legitimate MVP candidate, you have to bring him back. You have to invest in. Like, you can't. We were joking with Evan I was in the group chat. You know, an All-Pro quarterback is an All-Pro quarterback, but Bryce Young could be anything. It could even be an All-Pro quarterback. Like, I know he's 32. I know it's different. There's like context and everything, but like, yeah, if you're telling me he ends the season like as one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league, I don't know how you don't just roll the dice there. Because, I mean, yeah, he's older, rookie contract, all that stuff. But, like, you're rolling the dice with one of those rookie quarterbacks, too. Like those aren't sure things by any chance. And, you know, if you win 7 or 8 games, the Broncos are probably going to win at least 6 games. So you're not you don't have a top 3 pick. You're going to have to trade a ton to get up to get one of those, you know, the number 1 or number 2 guy if that's who you want. So, yeah, I think if this season ends today and everything just kind of goes the way it's going, I think you drop you hope he takes the Tannehill contract, and you're super happy that you found the next Kurt Warner.
Dayna, you've been part of this conversation already. And I'm curious, like, we've talked about this and whether there's, you know, how we felt about drafting a quarterback next year. Versus 2 defensive, you know, players with those top 2 picks. How are you feeling? Like, Nathan's advocating for a Tannehill contract for what it's worth. That's 4 years, $120 million with.
Did you actually, Nathan?
With $91 million guaranteed.
The hypothetical is everything that's happening so far continues to happen. So he ends the year playing as well as he plays. They win 7 games or something like that. Yeah. I think at that point you hope he takes the Tannehill contract.
Okay.
We'll come back.
Dayna looks extremely annoyed. Extremely annoyed.
Yeah, I want to hear.
Oh, I'm not annoyed at all. It was funny. No, I was watching Evan's face. He's like, I call bullshit, is what he was telling me.
Yeah.
My brain is just struggling to process this reality still, guys.
Right.
So,
well, we're going to process, because I'm going to come to you in a second on this again. So Dayna, yeah, what right now, like, same scenario, where do you want the Seahawks spending those first 2 picks?
I was pretty adamant, I think, the last couple of times we've talked about this, that I wanted a quarterback, that I really wanted, that I thought that this class wasn't one that you could just, you know, ignore. And that I thought that was really important. I also, much like everyone else, keep waiting for the bottom to drop out of Geno, right? Like we keep expecting every single week for him to do something to prove us right, of everything that people thought at the beginning of the season. It's not happening. And he just looks better every game, right? And he just looks settled and in command. My only issue is capitalizing on the rookie contracts of the tackles, of the cornerbacks, and of a quarterback, and having all of those rookie contracts at the same time. You extend Geno a couple of years, you keep him around for, let's say, 2 more years. That just eats into that kind of, you know, the space you have cap wise with all those rookie contracts. But if he continues to play this way, I think it would be asinine to waste those picks on a quarterback when you have those defensive picks there now. And you guys know I love defense. So if Geno continues this, I don't even think he has to be top 3. I think if he's a top 5, maybe, quarterback, I think as long as he's right in that group, I think you have to hold on to him. I think that it would be stupid to not waste that, with those defensive picks are going, because the Texans are going after quarterback. That, all these other teams are going to end up with those quarterbacks. So why not go after those defensive players?
Interesting. As the world turns with those picks. I didn't realize that 2 other teams also had 2 first-round picks. Detroit has 2 first-round picks. One of the Rams picks, I think. And then
the Giants, isn't it?
The Giants, or is it Houston or someone else? I'll have to look back, but I know I saw another team has 2 first-round picks, and they're all pretty high up. So
can I pose a hypothetical?
Yeah, please.
So we were just talking about Geno, sustaining this play all year long. Okay, let's say he's top 3 ranked quarterback end of the season. What does he command in a trade?
But you can't trade him at the end of the season.
He's not signed anything.
Could you tag? I didn't think about that.
Can you? You can trade a tagged player, right? But
yes.
The cap implications now are going to severely cut into his.
Oh man, I hate.
No, this you're acting like this is a problem, Evan. This is not a problem.
No, this is a good problem.
This is a good problem. It's not I would not classify it in any way as a problem. Franchises go decades trying to find a quarterback that is worthy of being considered as a franchise quarterback.
It is not how you win a Super Bowl.
Whoa, why?
It's not how you win a Super Bowl.
That's because his name's Geno Smith. That's not because show me a player that's playing like Geno is right now that with a top 15 defense is not a Super Bowl contending team.
This team's like 4-1 if they have a top 25 defense.
Exactly. Easily.
It's true.
What
about this? What if you do both? What if you keep Geno?
Yes.
And get a quarterback?
Yes.
See what the hell happens.
I'm okay with that. But you have to draft a quarterback. You have to.
That's the coward's approach, though, to split the strategy.
No, it is not.
Yes, it is.
No, it is not. You
Yes,
sit that freaking rookie behind that qualified veteran in Geno Smith, and you let him sit for a year or 2, and he comes out looking like a Patrick Mahomes.
First of all, you're gonna piss off Geno. Second of all, what if Geno keeps playing like a MVP or All-Pro type quarterback, and now you spent a high pick on someone that's sitting on the bench that you're either going to piss off fans or alienate the locker room if you ever make the switch? Maybe you recoup that value somewhere down the line. But if Geno is playing like this, you are in a Super Bowl window. So use those picks for players that help Geno. So and the other thing is, if you're going to draft a quarterback, don't pay Geno $30 million a year. Get the advantage of a rookie quarterback contract.
Okay, but I didn't say a high pick. I don't
care.
I
mean, you can take
find someone that's
year.
lower down, right?
Sure.
So why not? So you don't have to completely ignore the quarterback position. If there's a guy you like that you can get maybe in the second round or what have you, or you get your great defensive pick with the first one, and then the second one, let's say somehow Seattle's pick is down in like 20 at 20, and you pick up a guy there. I think that's always an option. I didn't mean waste your first round pick, the very top one on that. I just mean you can hedge your bet there and still get kind of the benefit out of both.
This is a
coward or not.
Huge. Like, it has the potential to just be a massive strategic decision to make. And Nathan, I think, is nailing what the tension is, which is like, it's a no-brainer that when you have a quarterback playing at Geno's level at his age, which is 2 years younger than Russell, that you sign him. If his name was Russell Wilson and he was this age, he was in last year's contract, we would not be having any conversations about like, do you sign him? Like, that would be like ridiculous, right? So of course, like, and one of the benefits is Evan's face right now. Everyone look at Evan's face. That is the face of every NFL executive and every fan. When they hear Geno Smith, they're like they might see it and they might think, yeah, he's playing really well. But then when it comes to actually signing the dotted line to give him a big contract, to have a press conference where you stand in front of your parents, your ownership, your fan base, and you said, yes, I am betting my job on Geno Smith. There is no way that that's a non-factor going into this offseason. There are going to be, I would say, the vast majority of franchises will be super dumb about it and be like, I will not give him big money, which is great news for the Seahawks. And because they can control him with the franchise tag, my perspective is franchise tag is your default expectation. It's 1 year. You've got cap space to burn next year. You have a ton of cap space next year. And then I try to actually sign him to a 2 to 3 year deal where his guaranteed money is more than the franchise, the 1 year franchise. So you spread it out, you get a 2 to 3 year thing. So you're not hooked into him for 5-10 years, whatever it would be. And you have a young quarterback. Like, I think that would be ideal.
Does Geno want that though?
Don't know.
If you're lowballing him and threatening him with the franchise tag, like Geno has a ton of pride. Like, that's extremely obvious at this point. So, like, does Geno just say, fuck you? Yeah, tag me. I'll play my I'll go out of my mind, play amazing, try to win an MVP in another year, and then I'll go somewhere where I'm wanted and start, right? And goodbye.
So, Brian, I disagree with you on one thing. Okay. And I want to make sure I heard you correctly. I think if Geno continues to play as well as he does, I think you severely underestimate the type of cash teams would throw at him in free agency. I mean,
there are teams, yeah.
Nick Foles, $88 million. Carson Wentz, $128 million. Jared Goff. Like, teams are out here paying scrubs. And Geno Smith is playing better than all those players.
Those guys all have less dirt under their name tags than Geno Smith. Geno Smith has been labeled as a terrible quarterback. He is a bust. He is barely a backup. That is who Geno Smith is in the NFL. And yes, he's remaking that name. You don't do that overnight.
But he is a second round pick. I mean, he was a highly regarded prospect.
So was Drew Lock, right? Like, it was a first round pick. Do you think?
And Schneider just made a total ass of himself talking about how excited he was for Drew Lock.
I know, and I think the Seahawks are trying to make him sound better than he is. Anyway, I don't know. We won't know that till the end of the year. But to the point I was trying to get to a little bit is, to Nathan's point, even if you you get exactly what I'm talking about. Let's say that you get him to a 2 to 3 year deal that has a guaranteed of like $50 million or something like that, right? You still have the issue of you're spending a fair amount of money on the quarterback position. It's not top dollar, but you're not getting the benefit of a rookie deal. And that's a huge advantage. So, like, to some extent, you are taking away the benefit of that. I don't agree with Nathan about the whole, like, going to alienate things like Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. Like, there's line after line after line of quarterbacks that have been drafted, waited a year, come in and been great, and it hasn't been that big of a deal. So I don't think that's huge. But this defense sucks, guys. It's so bad. And there's potentially because there's so many quarterbacks, I think you're going to see a lot of good defensive players slide down, and you're going to pass them up. Like, there's a chance where you could turn this defense around with 2 picks. You absolutely could turn this defense around with 2 picks. And you're gonna just stare that in the face and say, like, no, like, we just don't believe in Geno.
I love how pained Evan is. Evan's going through it right now.
Okay, I got a question. Sorry to derail this conversation. Geno continues to play at this level.
Yes.
At the end of the year, what is the max number? Let's kind of forget about guaranteed money for a second. Max APY number you would give him over 3 years. So 3 years, what? What are you max comfortable with? Considering Kyler Murray just got $49.4 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say 40 million seems crazy, but like with what quarterbacks get, I don't think 40 million is crazy.
Like I want you on the record, Nathan. Are you comfortable giving Geno Smith 3 years, $120 million?
Oh yeah, that's the Tannehill contract, huh? We already talked about this. Wait, no, Tannehill's 4 years,
4
120?
years, 120 million with
That's 30 a year.
91 million guaranteed.
Okay.
Boy, yeah, I really want to give him. I don't actually even know. I mean,
3 years, 120 million, 90 million guaranteed.
he's.
Yes or no, Nathan? Are you comfortable? I want to know the
Dayna
line.
hasn't said anything in a while. Let's let her talk.
I want to know
first.
the line. I want you on the record. Put the Seahawks money where your mouth is.
He's playing he's legitimately playing at an MVP level.
I know. So what's the number? What are we comfortable at?
3 years, 120 million. Yeah.
You do it?
Yeah.
Dayna?
I'd give him 32 a year.
32 a year.
And I think he would take it, to be honest with you. I think he would take it. And the only reason is because he already knows that he excels in this offense. And
Brian?
so it's more about his legacy for me, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking at a couple different contracts here. I'm going to answer you, so just calm down. It's Marcus Mariota, who just signed this year with the Falcons, right? He's a few years younger than Geno and certainly has not played to this level. He signed, his total value it's $20 million. It's $10 million a year, 6.8 million guaranteed. Jameis Winston has a total contract value of $28 million. He's been a starter for multiple years in the league. His average is $14 million a year. Total guarantees $21 million. Matt Ryan, 37 years old, has a $150 million contract, $30 million a year, $100 million guaranteed. I think you could probably look at Kirk Cousins, who's 34. He has a $35 million, contract. I guess it's just a year left on that, and that's what's guaranteed. Look, I'll go back to exactly what I said before. Like, I want to find out for sure what the franchise tag is, because Over the Cap has the franchise tag at the exclusive franchise tag at 30 something million. But there was a tweet I saw where that the 2023 exclusive franchise tag is 45 million. That's a huge difference. In any event, I am comfortable giving Geno $10 to $20 million over whatever the franchise tag guarantee is in guaranteed dollars for 3 years. So that's not per year. That's the total guaranteed value. So divide that by 3.
I see.
And so I think you're pretty much just signing him to a 2-year deal with likely a 3rd year that would be something you could get out of without having it destroy your cap. That's the line I would try to draw. And honestly, I think that would be wise for Geno to take. He doesn't, as much as he's confident, as much as his agent is, if he could get generational money for multiple years and be over the franchise tag, all you care about as an NFL player is walking away with something in your back pocket.
But if he walks into your office and says, I want, because Dak Prescott, like you said, or I don't know if you talked about Prescott, but Prescott was 4 years, 160 million. Stafford, 4 years, 160 million. So that's 40 million APY. If he says, I want that contract, but I'll do it for 3 years. So I want 3 years, 120 million, or I walk, or you have to tag me. Do you say, okay, we'll tag you, or do you sign it? Like that, it's not I know we'd love to negotiate. Like, obviously, if he could get the Tannehill or if you get the Winston deal, you'd do it, right? But like, if he says, this is it, you give me 3 years, 120 million, or I'm out.
Remind me what they did with the franchise tag rules in terms of how many times you could re-up somebody on the franchise tag.
It's at least
3
2.
times.
I think it's twice. I think it's 2, isn't it?
It's at least 2. I don't.
So to me, it's a no-brainer. I sign in the franchise tag and I move on. That forces him to the table. The thing that's just absolutely clear to me, you do not let him walk. You do not let a player of this playing at this level walk. You can't. At the most important position, I would say there is a 90% chance plus that you will never get in the next 5 years a quarterback that will play at a similar level. That's the most likely scenario. If you go into the draft, you have to hope, but how many of those young quarterbacks just bust. Trey Lance. Anyone want Trey Lance instead of Geno Smith? If they offered you a trade tomorrow, Evan, Trey Lance for Geno Smith.
Of course not.
What about Justin Fields? Justin Fields for Geno Smith.
No.
I don't know if I personally, like, I haven't looked at Trevor Lawrence really closely. I don't know that I would take Trevor Lawrence over Geno Smith.
But would you take the number 1 overall pick next year for Geno Smith?
If someone offered me the number 1 overall
Or a top 5 pick, yeah.
I don't think I would.
Holy shit. Are you serious?
I don't know. Like part of the reason that I like the idea of drafting a quarterback in this draft is because I like the idea of having Geno and a top young quarterback that you can then flip in a year or two for likely multiple first-round picks.
God, I
don't know
hope
that you're going to be able to trade Geno for that, but if you stick with Geno and you have a young quarterback behind him, I think you can turn that into multiple first-round picks.
God, I hope Geno continues to be good because this might be it. This might be the one that ends Real Hawk Talk. Like, we will never live this shit down if Geno goes back to being Geno by the end of the year.
No, I mean, this is all of this is with the assumption that he stays playing.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, we should have that conversation next. Like, I do want to talk about the defense a little, and Dayna, I want to make sure we're all very chatty, but
imagine us having this conversation 5 weeks ago. Just imagine projecting in the future this conversation we'd be having right now 5 weeks ago.
It's insane.
I said that exact thing yesterday.
It's just
exact thing.
It's insane. Dayna, if you had to bet your house, you had to bet like your house on whether Geno Smith is going to be in this same level. It doesn't have to be exactly like top 3, but like, let's say he's going to finish the year as a top 7 quarterback in the NFL. Would you bet your house that he is going to do that, or that he's not going to do that? He's going to fall off.
Do I get to include injury in that for the fall? Because
Let's
that's
say
just it. I don't know.
Injury, take that out of the picture. This is like
okay.
While he's on the field.
Can't get hurt. He can't get hurt. You know, with the rest of the schedule that the Seahawks have, I think he's got a pretty good chance of doing well. Maybe not top 3. I would say I would bet my house on maybe top 7.
Okay. Evan?
Maybe. Oh, damn. I don't know.
What was the question?
Would you bet, like, if you had to bet your house, you had no choice, but you had to bet it.
Yeah.
And you had to bet it on whether Geno's going to finish the year by essentially sustaining this level of play and being like a top 7 quarterback, let's say. Maybe he falls a little bit, but still like clearly one of the best in the NFL this season. Would you bet that it's going to happen, or bet that he's going to fade out and kind of return to Geno the backup?
I think he probably continues it.
That's what you're having trouble with. Nathan, are you in the same place? What's your instinct on this?
Bet my house that he's a top 5 quarterback.
Top 7.
Top 7.
Yes. We gave you a little bit of leeway.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know that the thing that gives me pause is like, why am I not hesitating more about that? Like yeah, I don't have a lot of doubt about that.
What about the way he's playing, folks, feels unsustainable? What about what he's doing feels like fluky?
That's the thing. It's not. It's when you look at the all 2020 or all 22, the throws he's making are insane. This is like, these are not lucky throws. They're repeated. They're accurate. They're consistent. He's making the right reads. He's making the right adjustments at the line. And it's not. What the fuck is happening? What the fuck is happening?
And it's not just the physical throws. Like Drew Lock dropped that touchdown in the preseason in a game that he threw, like that last game when he threw like 4 picks and everything. Like Drew Lock obviously has unbelievable arm talent, right? But like the throws that Geno is seeing, and then that he is making, like the actual throw itself, that combination is unbelievable right now. Like it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first throw to Tyler Lockett at the end of the first half.
That's
exactly. Oh my God, I had an orgasm.
And then he
Mhm.
did it again to Tyler Lockett. It was like the same play. It was like, oh, you can't do that twice.
Talk about
You
explosive
just did that
finishes.
twice. I mean, Dayna, what was going on in the stadium?
Yeah.
20 seconds. It's like that was their they went for a freaking touchdown. Everyone was looking for a field goal. It must have
It
killed
was
Saban.
amazing. Yeah. And I remember this one woman, she was just like stood up and she was like, oh my God. And she's like running up and down the thing and high-fiving everyone. Like I said, they're just happy you're there. But it was just, and that end zone was right in front of us. And so it just was so much fun. It was just so fun to watch. And everyone, you just kept hearing, did Geno threw that damn ball? And I did hear a lot of, he threw that better than Russ. And I'm not here to dog Russell Wilson, but he was like, you get that feeling. Here's the thing with Geno. I think that the expectation for him to fail is so high. It's hard to get over that for the media. You hear the media talking about all the time. They're like, where the hell did this guy come from? And so I think that's our problem is we're hesitant because we remember Geno with the Jets, but we have to remember that the Jets were a horrid, awful team with no talent. And so I think that we have to remember that he has pieces around him that will help him to continue to succeed. And so we have to kind of get over ourselves, right? Like we have to really kind of get over ourselves.
It's so true. And one of the things I think some people may not have heard, but he gave a lot of credit for his time behind Phillip Rivers as the key time when he learned how to read defenses pre-snap. That's where he credits it to. And Phillip Rivers was not a huge arm talent guy. Like that guy just, and there's throws he made that looked like he was shot putting it, right? But he knew, like, how many times did he drive us crazy with the LOB where it was like he just got the ball to the place where there was going to be a weakness in the defense and moved him along and then made some big throws. And so, like, anyway, I think it's crazy. Let's move on a little bit because I could spend the whole pod talking about Geno Smith. I think it's like one of the most, I think it is a Kurt Warner level crazy story in a different way. It's not coming from being a busboy or whatever, like a bagger at a grocery store or whatever, but I don't think I've ever seen anything like what's happening with Geno Smith in the NFL. 8 years of being nobody and being like an afterthought to being like one of the best
Rich Gannon's the only one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about, I don't remember Rich Gannon being considered like awful.
No, but he was like a long-time backup, right? The other one, that's maybe
Steve Young a little bit. Where
I was gonna say, if we want to get really crazy, like how different is it than Steve Young?
A little bit. That was like he was in Tampa, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know.
It's made the
feels
season
different.
fun.
Welcome back, Evan. We've declared Geno Smith as the next Steve Young.
They have actually.
That would be so weird considering that was the player I chose Russell Wilson as my comparison for before his first game as a Seahawk was Steve Young. I was like, he's the next Steve Young.
Just had to wait 10
Evan?
years.
I'm just I love that we're in this situation. I also am kind of irritated, but it's a good it's a good irritation. It's a good irritation. Okay. I we've talked about this. There's an ideal, most efficient way of winning a Super Bowl is taking advantage of a quarterback on a rookie contract. We all know that. Yes, it's a risk. Yes, I understand there's bus, but I had really solidified in my mind that that's like what we were going to do. And 2023 was drafting a quarterback high, and maybe they still do that. But Geno Smith playing at this level is just an insane wild card. And I think it'd be a totally different discussion if he was playing even at like a top 10 level, even a top 15 level. It'd be a totally different discussion. Yeah. But it's literally like if this defense, as Nathan suggested, if this defense was anything close to average, this team is probably 5-0. They're probably 5-0. And we're legitimately talking about Geno Smith as an MVP leader, and we're talking about this team going to the Super Bowl.
So that actually triggers something I wanted to talk to you all about.
So
I think the reason, at least I've identified this for me, but I want to know for all of you. Part of the reason I've thought about like rookie QB contract is ideal is because it gives you the longest possible window to potentially have your money elsewhere and have the longest potential window to win that Super Bowl. It also gives you the biggest chance to have like a dynasty, to win multiple Super Bowls over, a few years. That's what we had. Like we had the ideal scenario with the LOB era, right? Like we all know that. But that's not the only way. Like the other way is that you could call it like the Rams way. Like they went up and they're coming friggin' down, right? But they won a ring. And so like you could argue like the best chance for the Seahawks, like I think it's almost hard to argue that the best chance, if you want the Seahawks to win another Super Bowl, would be to have Geno play at this level, would be to sign him and to spend the first 4 picks on either defensive players or another offensive lineman. Period. And you run and you just like you compliment around that, and maybe you win one more ring and then you have to restart again. But like we waited like 30 years to win a ring, or 40 years or whatever it was. Like, do you guys really like, would that be abhorrent to like just win one ring in the next few years as opposed to having like a 3 or 4 year run? Because that's the difference we're talking about.
I'm fine with that.
My
Honestly,
brain
I'm
is
fine
so
with that.
broken. My brain
I
is so
know.
broken.
He's poor Evan.
ju- I-
he
I-
had
I'm-
a situation planned out.
I had a plan in my
not-
brain and I was buying into it.
I love it. I love it. Do you guys remember how boring we thought this season was going to be? No,
It is
thank
not
you.
that.
No, it has been a blast.
It is not that. How cute was it that the Seahawks put the 2 rookie tackles up there for a press conference today?
Those poor guys are like this.
I didn't
guys
see
see
that. I didn't.
Abe and Charles are up there like standing next to each other, all like shy and answering questions. That,
It was precious.
I mean, where does this draft rank for you guys right now relative to other drafts that the Seahawks have made? And Dayna, I'm going to start with you because the rest of us have been so chattery. But
Nathan's hardly said anything.
I know it's true. No, but like, where does this rank relative to the 2010, 2011, 2012 drafts? I think it has to be in that conversation.
Mhm. I think so, but I don't think we can know yet. I mean, we have to look for some durability. We have to see some more steps out of the rookies in the secondary. I think right now the trajectory is right up there with some of those better drafts, the 12 draft and the 10 draft. But I hate to jump the gun on them too much, but I will tell you from what I've seen in a little 5, because it's just been 5 weeks, you guys. So this little 5-week window that we've had, I see them, especially those tackles, being probably 2 of the most important picks that we've had in a decade, not including 12. So since 12.
Nathan, where do you think this is looking like it's going to end up?
I mean, we're getting way ahead of ourselves on the Geno thing, and we haven't even gotten into how Tariq Woolen is on track to be an All-Pro corner as a rookie. So, I mean, I think Mafe, people are weirdly high on him. I don't quite get it. I think he's going to end up being a whiff. And everyone knows how I feel about the Walker pick, but it looks like they have, it looks like they've got, at least for the rest of their rookie contracts, their starters at tackle and potentially a Pro Bowl or even better corner, who is just a freak and has, his potential is still so much higher. So yeah, I think this is an A+ draft.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I love Tariq Woolen. I mean, I know I'm unique in that, but 3 picks in 3 games.
I don't think you're unique in that. I think
Is that sarcasm?
Like,
yeah,
3 picks in 3 games.
100%, man. He's the second coming of Richard
40
Sherman.
passer rating to like opposing QBs. Like, and he's the best athlete maybe ever to play the position. Like, he's at least in the conversation. Like,
on a team with DK Metcalf, he might be the best athlete on the team. Like, that's insane.
it's crazy. It's crazy. And like, when I was doing stats this past Sunday, he's doing things that haven't been done since Champ Bailey. in 1999. He's doing things. He has 3 interceptions this year. The Seahawks cornerback season leader for franchise history is Brandon Browner with 6 in a season. Richard Sherman's second with 4. He's got 3. Like in 5 games. This is insane. So like pretty soon people are going to stop throwing at him. And that's going to mean they're going to look elsewhere. I'm really curious what the Seahawks are going to do. Like Artie Burns is back. He actually played last week and played reasonably well. They tried Sidney Jones. I think they're trying Sidney Jones. They're trying Artie Burns. Mike Jackson still keeps getting a bunch of play. I am curious. We haven't heard anything about Trey Brown. Like they said, but like,
Yeah.
I'm a little worried we're just not going to see him this year. I don't know. Like, has anyone heard anything that I've missed on this topic? Like Pete a few weeks ago gave his normal, yeah, he's progressing. We'll have more in a few weeks kind of thing, which to me was like, he's talking about LJ Collier already being back. And he's talking about Alton Robinson, but he's not giving any time frame on Trey Brown. So that has me concerned.
How long can he stay out? Is it just 6 weeks before they have to make a decision?
I think it's 4, right? Oh, wait.
No, he has to be out that many weeks.
For 4. But I think doesn't it by 6 they have to make,
it's like at week 6 they have to make the decision, and then they have like 2 more weeks before they have to activate him or something like that.
Okay.
A little bit later in the season, but in any event, yeah, like we'll find out soon on him. I know. Do we have Patreon questions?
We do.
Yeah, let's take some Patreon questions.
No thanks to some folks on the Hawk Talk crew.
While Nathan's going to pull those up, I'll just say, please give the show a like if you haven't already. Appreciate people being here. Click subscribe and go to patreon.com/hawkblogger. Sign up right now. You get immediate access to the Slack channel. You get to ask questions that we will then answer each week. So go ahead, hit us up, Mr. Nathan.
All right. Bronny wants to know, and Dana, I'm going to toss this one to you because it is a Bruce question. With Bruce back in the fold, who will the Seahawks play in the Super Bowl?
I love that so much. I know you guys were like making fun of bringing Bruce back. It makes me so happy. I can't even tell you why it makes me so happy. I just love Bruce Irvin's energy. I love everything about him. And will he come in and make a huge impact? No, but I don't think that's why he's there. And we talked about this a little bit. I think he's there to coach these kids up a little bit. I think they brought him in to show them how to play the position, what is the Seahawk way to play the position. And Bruce loves everything Seattle. And so I just think he's so happy there. But if we're going to play someone, I keep saying that the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl this year. So I guess it would end up having to be the Super Bowl, the Bills, and we would lose. But that's fine.
God, could you imagine how many points that Bills offense would score against this team?
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my
Thank God we don't have to play them.
Set an NFL record. It'd be like 82.
It's going to be bad enough playing the Chiefs. Holy cow.
Oh my God.
I completely forgot about that.
Christmas Eve, people. Merry Christmas.
Okay, Jen Mazzarolo, I hope I said her last name right. Asks, do we see them ever playing Kobe at outside cornerback? And why does Pete play guys out of their position? I don't think we will ever see Kobe outside quarterback or cornerback. Well, I say that. I guess I don't know why they wouldn't give him a shot over Mike Jackson. I don't think he's done anything to really lock it down, but I imagine at this point that they want to just keep him at one thing as a rookie and learn there. Brian, do you think he's playing out of position? I thought he was always kind of slated as a nickel guy.
No, he actually started in training camp outside, and it was a week or 2 in that they moved him in, and then gave him some run in preseason games, and then kept him there. Justin Coleman's supposedly back this week. Oh God, like he was so bad. I really am hoping he's not going to get put back in. Kobe Bryant's forced 2 turnovers in 2 weeks. I know that he's not like the best like so far, but I'm still bullish on Kobe Bryant. He's playing to me more like what a promising rookie cornerback should look like. Some plays where you're like, oh God, and some plays where you're like, oh, cool. So I don't see anything that's like super alarming about Kobe Bryant yet. But if Trey Brown was around, I would be wanting to see him get some reps in there. And I definitely would rather see some reps from Artie Burns or Sidney Jones over Mike Jackson, personally, but we will see.
Yeah, and she also asks, will this hurt Kobe? I doubt it. I mean, I think the benefit of getting on the field and playing NFL snaps is probably going to outweigh anything else. All right, Dayna, I'm coming back to you because Jen also wants to know, did you watch Sherman Marchand's podcast today? Thoughts?
I'm not getting into
Now,
this fight with you
I
again.
just want to say we talked about this in the group chat, and it was a very calm and reasonable conversation. And I said, I bet Sherm and Marchand said, wah, 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 petty, petty. And Dayna said, no, they did not say wah, wah, wah. But Dayna, I went and listened to the podcast.
I'm so proud of you right now.
But they did say wah, wah, wah. Yes, they did.
Not. No,
they were talking about, go look, go watch the tape. Go watch the tape. You'll see that when they discuss the Super Bowl loss, they both go on for a few seconds, both of them saying wah, wah, wah. So in fact, it was wah, wah, wah.
Oh my God.
How much petty was there?
It wasn't. It was a fantastic interview. I adore Sherman Lynch and I watch everything that he does. And I know that Sherm can be a little snarky. Okay. I get that. But I loved that interview. And I don't think that I thought they were very complimentary to both Pete, even though they said he's going to die on a football field. I don't know what that was all about. But and then and I thought that, to be honest with you, I mean, they didn't go after Russ the way they could have. It could have been nasty, and they didn't do it. And in fact, Marchand then said he had some concern for him. But I loved the fact that they all said none of them had his phone number. They weren't allowed to have his direct number. I thought that was a little strange. But so no, yes, we did get into quite the argument because Nathan was being grumpy about that.
They don't have his direct phone number?
No. Marchand said he wanted to call and check on him, but he will only call if he can talk to the man himself. And Sherman goes, yeah, you have to talk through his manager.
Josh has his direct phone number.
Hey now.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little strange. So anyway, I liked the art. I liked it. I liked that I liked the camaraderie that really felt kind of good between the two of them. Yeah. So Nathan didn't like it. I did. There's your answer.
No, okay. First of all,
I'm so glad you actually watched it though, because you're like,
swear to God, Dayna. No. So I did go back and watch it. And I will say I've watched several things with Marchand in it, and it's always he's just entertaining to watch.
Great.
I think this was probably my favorite thing that I've ever sat and listened to him, or because he was extremely open and real about a couple different topics. So it was actually really cool. I would highly recommend it.
How crazy that he goes and puts pads on, play high school football.
Well, yeah, so that whole bit was very funny. But then the whole thing that he was talking about, that he noticed that he had to find some way to get his competitive juices out, because it was he wasn't handling it well, yeah. And so that's part of why I thought it was fascinating. And also just cool to hear him open up and talk about stuff like that. Evan, Amani wants to know, how concerned are we with Metcalf's continued drops and fumbles this far into his career, especially with the talk of his leadership going into the season? Who holds DK accountable?
It's kind of at the point for me where this is just kind of what you get with him. And I'm not sure it's ever going to change, to be honest with you. And it's Pete Carroll that needs to hold him accountable.
God damn it.
That's probably fair though, right?
That wasn't a joke. Is Pete Carroll not the one to hold him accountable?
It's just the way your brain works, and it's warped in so many ways. But
wait, what's the correct answer?
You think it's
Geno?
Pete Carroll's fault that DK Metcalf has trouble catching the ball?
Not his fault, but it's his responsibility to hold him accountable.
Okay. So I was going to ask you though, do you see no difference between DK Metcalf's drops this year and in previous years? No change for the better or worse?
I really haven't thought about it too much, honestly. What's the data show?
I feel like it's been significantly better this year. I've seen him make way more contested catches than he's made in past years. He seems to be securing the ball on the not from a fumble perspective, but just in terms of when the ball's hitting his hands, it's secure much more quickly than we've seen in the past. It's not as much like a hitting rocks and bouncing around. I thought that drop in the end zone was an aberration. It was also a tough play. Like, I know he should have caught it, but Geno gunned that one in there, and DK was laid out to try to catch it with someone hanging on him. So I don't think it was like, this wasn't Jamal Adams or Josh Jones dropping like a ball right in their stomach kind of thing. Like, so, and I still don't think that was a fumble for what it's worth. I think his elbow was down pretty clearly, but whatever. So I don't think it's been as much of an issue. That's my main point.
Brian, I'll go back to you. Jay Brandt wants to know. We're all loving Geno and what he's been doing, obviously. My question regards how we feel about Shane Waldron. How does the start to the season change our perception of his offense? Seems to me he deserves a lot of credit. You've been somewhat skeptical of Waldron, I think it's fair to say. How are you feeling about Waldron at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think the quick answer is great. I mean, I think that he's found a quarterback personnel like situation that just works for him. He's got tight ends that he seems to like feel comfortable involving. And I think I've said this before, but I think one of the things that Waldron gets credit for that people might not think about is Andy Dickerson. Like, I think the offensive line has been playing well beyond their talent level on the like. I think Austin Blythe is like a really mediocre to below average player at the center position, and they've done pretty well like overall. So I think they're a combined package, and how can you have anything but good things to say about what is the number one offense in the NFL right now from a DVOA perspective? Like, it would sound pretty silly to be critical.
Dayna, I think this last question from Katie is for you. Rashad Penny's injury is obviously a huge blow. How confident are you in Kenneth Walker's ability to step into that role? And with Travis Homer on IR, how concerned are you about the depth with this group?
Nathan, I think that question is for you, sir. We know how much you love the running backs.
Well,
No.
I was going to take the last
Go
bit
ahead.
of it, so I'll let you run with the first few.
Homer comes back in a couple weeks, right? It was just 4 weeks that he was going to be off. I think that Pete said something about Homer coming back as soon as he was able to under IR. So that's encouraging. I like Kenneth Walker. I think that the more he runs, the more we'll see from him. I don't know how much explosion we would have gotten out of him or growth would have gotten out of him if he was constantly sitting behind Penny. So this is good for Kenneth Walker. It's horrid for Rashad Penny. I was heartbroken when that happened. And the funny thing is, I didn't even realize that my husband had to text me at the game. He's like, so it's an ankle for Rashad Penny. I said, what do you mean? Is he out of the game? Because he was on the sideline and gone. Like, we didn't even really recognize it at the game. I am a little worried about depth, but at the same time, I think they'll be okay. I think that the way Geno's been throwing the ball, I don't think there's quite the reliance on the run game that we thought there was maybe going to be at some point. And I think as long as Homer comes back and can do those spells, I mean, we'll be okay. I mean, we can't forget about, how many other running backs? Is there any other besides
DJ Dallas, and then they signed Travis Jones, right?
Yeah, so someone I don't know.
I
think it'll be okay.
I gotta ask
Go
a
ahead.
totally random tangent question to all of you. Sorry,
Okay.
I can't hold it any longer. Shane Waldron question got me thinking. If the Seahawks end up number one offense in the NFL this year for the whole year, and Geno Smith's the quarterback, is Shane Waldron going to be a head coach somewhere next year?
So this is the thing, going back to like who's going to be competing with Seattle for Geno. So if Shane Waldron gets the Carolina head coach job, does he go and does he drop a ton of cash on Geno?
I have already seen a ton of tweets about this, about that Shane Waldron could easily. Yeah.
See, I thought I was original, but like, that's he's a Sean McVay disciple. So he kind of like was damaged by how things started, but now could end up being a golden boy again. That would suck. That would suck.
I think the important thing here, though, is I agree with Dana. I'm also not concerned. Running backs are replaceable, so they're all the same. So, but Katie does ask one last question here. Do you feel optimistic about the run game? We are not talking about Seattle's run game enough. They are unbelievably efficient and have been for going on like 13 weeks. If you go back to the last season, they have consistently been better than the average quarterback's EPA. Rashad Penny is rivaling Aaron Rodgers in terms of EPA per play. So I think there's because of the fungibility of the running back position, I don't think there's any reason to not be optimistic about the run game going forward, continuing to be as awesome as it has been.
What does Evan always say? Clip it. Clip it. He said something nice about the run game. Clip it.
He's
Flip it.
He's trying to provoke you, Dana. And
I know he is, and that's
reality,
fine.
the reality is Rashad Penny has shown that he is different than other running backs when it comes to explosive plays. Like he is over the last year, like there's no player that has even half as many 30-yard plus runs as he does. Like no other running back. And that's just over the last 2 years. Like when he's had enough plays on the field, he wasn't even like getting all the reps last year to the last few games. So,
and he was just on a 1-year contract. Is that right?
I was going to say he probably played the last game of his career with the Seahawks, I think.
I don't know that that's true, actually.
With an injury? Probably not.
Yeah,
I think he'll be back next year.
If anything, I think this makes it more likely he comes back.
Me too.
What if Kenneth Walker assumes like a big time role? Would you pay that type of money to a backup?
I mean, he's making like 3 or 4 million this year, right? 3.5 million,
5.5.
Yeah,
5.5. Okay, but still, like, yeah, I mean, he's always had these issues. I've been bringing him back, but I don't know. I mean, you can say, hey, he's unique. No one can break off big runs like him. But Kenneth Walker played like a quarter and a half and broke off a 70-yard run. So
we will see. I hope that proves to be true. I really do.
That is it for Patreon questions.
Awesome. Those are good ones. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. Patreon.com/hawkblogger gets you in the door, and we'd love to have you join. So let's talk about this week's game. We've gone usually like an hour a show, and we've actually already made our predictions by now. Now, I could have just made my prediction at the beginning, and we could have signed off because I am now 4 for 4, 5 for 5. How many games have we played? 5 for 5. Yes. Dana, this drives Dana nuts because
it does drive me crazy.
She was so proud last year when she'd get it right. And now I'm just on a streak. But the Cardinals folks, like I looked at them today. I've been watching their scores. PFF does not like the Cardinals. DVOA, Football Outsiders, does not like the Cardinals. They're like ranked like between 23rd and 26th in offense, defense, and special teams. And on
by PFF.
No, on DVOA.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I think I have to double check on that. But like from PFF, they're like bottom of the barrel on a lot of things. So let me pull it up real quick. I had it over here. Arizona is yes, sorry, hold on. By the way, Seattle is they are 23rd offensive DVOA, 26th defensive, and 25th special teams. They are the 26th ranked team by Football Outsiders. You know who's a top 10 team? Your Seattle Seahawks. That's a weird thing, right? They're a top 10 team. One of the weirdest things is that they are a somehow 15th ranked special teams. I think the special teams for the Seahawks has been as bad as it's ever been. Like, I don't know. I can't remember a time. Michael Dixon fumbling, like choosing to try to run, fumbling a punt. Tyler Lockett fumbling a punt in Detroit. Fake punt by Detroit for a first down. Missed field goal by Jason Myers. Missed extra point by Jason Myers. That's normal. But like penalties on punt returns, like they have been doing everything they can to lose games and really putting pressure on a defense that's already pretty bad. Really, really bad. So the Cardinals, though, are worse than I think people realize. And so I'm kind of curious. Evan, you're down there in the land of
Minimal
frosted
Cardinal
tips
fans.
and fireball shots. Like what's the word down there?
Yeah, people are really unimpressed with Kyler Murray. I think the most prevailing theme I'm hearing so far is already that contract was a mistake.
Are they unimpressed with him on the football field or on the Call of Duty?
Probably all of the above. His Warzone wins aren't very high,
Okay.
very high for criticism there. But there's a lot of people that didn't want to pay him. There's a lot of people that are, wondering why Cliff Kingsbury is still around. Why their GM, I forget his name. I think it's Steve Keim.
Steve Keim.
Yeah, Steve Keim is still around. They're a very, I know DVOA and PFF has them more in like the bottom 10. I think it's a little distorted by week 1 getting absolutely destroyed by the Chiefs. Since then, they've kind of been trending a little bit better. I think they're a very middle of the pack team, to be honest with you. I think they're like the definition of mediocrity. I don't think they're as disastrous, I think, as people think and expected, including myself, by the way. They've got several like ascending players, to be quite honest. Particularly even on the defensive side of the ball. Marcus Golden has been solid for them. Zach Allen at defensive end has been really an ascending pass rusher for them. They're not a complete disaster. Seattle should beat them, though.
Nathan, I don't know if you've seen, but they are riddled with injury. Even Matt Prater will not be kicking this week. Their kicker that they signed last week missed like a 43-yarder that would have tied Philadelphia last week at the end of the game, and so they lost 20-17. I think Rodney Hudson, their center, is day-to-day, may not play. Almost their entire offensive line is on the injured list. James Conner, their running back, is maybe not going to play, and I think they signed Latavius Murray off of like the Saints practice squad last week. I don't know what his status is, but they already don't have DeAndre Hopkins, still at this point. So
their offensive line, Brian, I will say, is ranked like number 13 by PFF in pass protection. They're not disastrous in some areas.
But isn't their pass defense the worst in the league?
Yes, I believe yes. Or it's like yes.
It is dead last. It is worse than the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Their pass rush is 30th. Like the Seahawks pass rush from PFF is 26th, which is like
and maybe this should be a cautionary tale with how excited we get about Geno, but for as awful and horrible and no good and bad as the Seahawks defense has been, they will now have played 2 teams with a defense that's worse than Seattle's defense, the Lions and this Cardinals defense.
Yeah, and at the time the Falcons defense was worse. I mean, it's in the conversation. It's not now. Seahawks lost some ground. So yeah, I mean, Nathan, like, how are you like, with what we know about the Seahawks and what we know about the Cardinals, how are you thinking about this game? Like, what comes to mind is like how this game's going to play out.
I am pretty. I know that Kyler, he's divisive, let's say, and Cliff is not always doesn't always inspire a lot of confidence, but Kyler against this defense and Rondale Moore against this defense, like we just saw Taysom Hill like score like what? How many touchdowns?
4 touchdowns. He scored 3 himself and 3 for 1.
And on probably like 15 plays, right? So I don't have any. I won't believe that any game will look different than either the Lions game. Jared, they got shut out the next week, right? The Lions team. So this defense can make anyone look good and make it tough. But I mean, we just talked a lot about Geno earlier, so I think that this will be a shootout, and it's just going to be probably a toss-up and some lucky calls or fumbles or whatever that go one way or the other that decide it.
Where are you at on this, Dayna? And then I'm going to ask you all for predictions.
Here's the thing with Arizona. I think that the preseason hype was huge. And I don't know if that just surrounded the contract that Kyler Murray got, or if that came from some genuine feeling that they were going to have some big, huge switch, but that didn't happen. And with that fan base, I mean, I think they've been calling for Cliff's head for a while now, especially after the end of last season, when now with his contract, he's not going anywhere this year for sure. There's been some speculation in some articles I've read where they're like, would Vance Joseph be a better head coach for this team than Cliff Kingsbury? So I know that there's some discontent there, and I don't know if it goes into the players too, or if it's just in the fan base, but there's definitely some discontent there. The interesting thing is that Kyler Murray has really just proven to be mediocre this year. He's just really kind of been a middle of the road. You know, he has 1,200 yards. He has 6 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. I mean, it's just kind of interesting the way that he has been playing. Now, if you talk about the line is good, then why is Kyler not better? And I think that he just makes some boneheaded decisions when you watch him play, and the whole team last weekend was like the perfect example of that. So I think there's a little faith in this Cardinals team. They can pull it out. I mean, they pulled it out against the Raiders team, which has some questionable moments in it too, but I just don't think that there's a lot of confidence behind Arizona. And for a lot of people, they were saying, no, they're going to be dead last in this division, which I laughed at. I'm like, you realize how our team's put together this year, right? But I kind of am understanding that now. You know, JJ Watt is not the player that he used to be. They still don't have Hopkins. And I don't know I mean, he'll make an impact when he comes back, but I don't know that it's going to save this team this year. So while I think that they'll end up a middle of the road team, I think that's all they are, is just a middle of the road team. And so I think Geno can outduel Kyler Murray. If the defense can even come up, I know that everyone hates or loves to bag on them right now, but there is little improvements. We are seeing small improvements in this defense. And if they can just improve just even a little bit more, stop 1 or 2 of those runs where he takes off, then I think that Geno definitely has it in him to beat this team.
All right, I will buy a full meal for any of you that can name the running back that got the second most snaps for the Cardinals last week against the Eagles. Do not look it up.
Eno Benjamin?
God damn it. How'd you know that?
Because he's better than James fucking Connor.
How'd you know that so fast?
Because I like Eno Benjamin, and it's a crime that he is not. This is a rare situation where a running back matters, and it's Eno, and he should be starting over James Conner.
Oh my God. I love Nathan is a closet running
of
back
all
collector.
People.
He has all the little running back figurines in his closet, and he like positions them, and he's got all the stats for them, and then he just he tries to throw us off his trail with all this negative running back commentary. I owe you dinner. I'm happy to do it. That is crazy. I've never heard of Eno Benjamin. I will admit it. I was like, who the hell?
That's the first time I've heard that name.
But yeah, here's the thing. I start looking at this team, the Cardinals, and I start thinking about the Seahawks, and the defense is bad. We know that. It's really bad. Hollywood Brown's their receiver right now. He's their only receiver. AJ Green is doing nothing this year. Rondale Moore really is not doing much either. And I think that Marquise Brown against Tariq Woolen is a pretty, I'd like to see that. I would feel pretty good about that. I'm assuming they'll try to move him around. I think Zach Ertz against our linebackers is the bigger thing that I'm concerned about. And then if they have a halfback, maybe it's Eno Benjamin in a screen game. Those are the things to worry about. The thing with Kyler Murray, everyone's talking about his passing. He's averaging 4.5 yards per carry this year. This guy is one of the things that's always been amazing with Kyler is when he decides to run, that guy has got jitterbug feet. I mean, he just looks like a video game cheat code out there. And it seems like that's not happening this year for whatever reason. So in any event, I think this is the worst offense that the Seahawks will have played this year, outside of maybe the Broncos. The Broncos played pretty well the first game, but in general, I think this is the worst offense.
The Lions were missing a lot of pieces. I know they killed us, but they were missing like 6 starters.
As far as personnel, it's possible, but in terms of like production, that's just not the case. The Lions were one of the top offenses in the NFL and had done it against decent defenses as well coming into that game. So I don't think you can make that case really. This offense for the Cardinals is like, it's not good. It's not good. So I will tell you my prediction in a second. But I'd like to start with Dayna. What is your predicted score here?
Well, I'm looking at what they've scored so far this year, and they average, 20-ish points, 21 against the Chiefs, 29 against the Raiders, 12 against the Rams, 26 against the Panthers, which are the Panthers, hello, and then only 17 against the Cardinals. So they're just not they're not super high scoring. So I think, to be a little conservative, I think the Seahawks win this game. I'm going to say 27-17.
I like it. Nathan.
52-27 Seahawks.
Wait, what did you just say?
52-27 Seahawks.
52-27 Cardinals.
What? Shut up.
You know what the Cardinals do to the Seahawks in Seattle?
It's all different now. Geno has changed.
No,
everything.
it's not.
Nope.
No,
the
it's
mojo is new.
52-27.
This is not
Cardinals.
Russell Wilson's team. This is not Pete Carroll's team. This is the Seattle Geno Hawks.
All right, fine. 52-38 Cardinals.
Okay.
Give them a little bit more.
I mean, look, we can laugh at Nathan, but the Seahawks have scored 48 and then 32 points and likely could have easily had more. They had touchdown called back from DK. They had a drop touchdown, like easily could have been in the 40s again. You could laugh at Evan. The Seahawks gave up 45 points and 39 points in back-to-back weeks. Totally reasonable to think that they could do it again. Excuse me. I think this is the worst team that the Seahawks have played from a combined perspective, offense, defense, special teams, all year. And that, I think that even the Falcons, as much as like I just thought that was an atrocious team, I think that they had something on offense at that point with Cordell Patterson and the way that they were playing. I think Drake London, a few folks that I think they had some stuff going on. I don't see that on this team for the Cardinals, and I don't see defensively. I think that this is the worst pass rush from an edge perspective they're going to see. The Seahawks offensive tackles they played damn well against Cam Jordan and Davenport last week. This is not even close to those two. So I think Geno's going to have time. I think that I think DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are going to have a lot of opportunities. And I think the Seahawks win this game like 37-21 this week. So I hope that turns out to be true. For folks that are planning to attend this game, I am one of them. Be aware, game time is changeable. So if the Mariners manage to not blow a clear victory over the Houston Astros and they win a game between now and Saturday, this game will start at 2:30 on Sunday. If the Mariners cannot recover from the disaster that was the other night, this game will start at 1 o'clock. So beware, this game will shift around. I will be at it, so I will not be able to host the post-game show. We'll find out if Nathan is able to, and if so, then we'll do that. Otherwise, just want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Please go over to click the like button. We got 54 likes. Come on, folks. That should be well over 100 by now. You're all lazy. No, I mean, we love you. Sorry. Just click that like button. Patreon.com/hawkblogger. Sign up, get immediate access to the Slack channel, and we'll see you for the conversation that continues over there. And give us a 5-star review on wherever you listen to your podcast. Would greatly appreciate it. So have a terrific rest of your night, and good night to you, Dayna, and you, Nathan, and Evan wherever he went.